Jingyan and his sister Jingru were originally the strongest survivors in the apocalypse. They awakened the most powerful combination of abilities. One could instantly clear any obstacle, even zombies. The other could stockpile unlimited supplies and never die. But the appearance of Jingyao's white moonlight, Senior Chun Su, made Jingyan experience what it truly meant to be better off dead. In the icy apocalypse of -60°C, Jingyan pushed his body to the limit, using his abilities to clear obstacles and slaughter zombies. Through this, he collected a massive amount of supplies. Meanwhile, Jingyao only needed to stay in the warm, safe house, receiving all the resources Jingyan risked his life to obtain. As a parasite, Chun Su didn't just peacefully survive in hiding. He even developed sinister ideas. He teamed up with Jingyao to sabotage Jingyan's thermal suit heating system. When Jingyan was surrounded by a horde of zombies, he began to feel increasingly cold. A moment's distraction led to him getting stabbed in the abdomen. When he came to his senses and tried to run back to the safe house, it was already too late. Countless zombies pressed the attack. They tore Jingyan's body to shreds. Jingyan fought to escape, using the last of his strength to crawl to the safe house entrance. He sighed in relief. He survived and banged on the window for help. Looking up at the people inside, Jingyao and Chun Su walked toward the door. Less than 2 meters from the door, they stopped walking. Jingyao slowly said, "Brother, if you die, doesn't that mean all the supplies will belong to me and the senior?" Jingyan's heart jumped in shock. This was kill the donkey after grinding the mill. In the endless cold wind, his heart was even colder than the apocalypse itself. A soul-crushing despair consumed him. In the final moment before closing his eyes,
he thought, I can't accept this.
If I could have another chance, I'd make them suffer more than I do now. More hopeless. Time rewind. Activate current anchor point. 7 days before the apocalypse's arrival. Absolute pure white. No ice or snow. No zombies. And no bone-chilling cold. Jingyan suddenly opened his eyes, panting heavily, his heart pounding violently in his chest, as if it would burst through his ribs. He instinctively reached for his abdomen. Smooth and warm. No wound. He looked around, his pupils constricted sharply. It was a boundless pure white space. Futuristic streams of light flew around him, and in front of him, 2 giant holographic icons hovered, radiating enticing golden light. The left icon was a golden infinity symbol, with the words Stockpile System underneath. Ability Preview. Contains infinite compression space. Time freeze. Absolute preservation. Mental access. No living things can be stored. The right icon was a blood-red, shattered symbol, with the words Clear System and Ability Preview below. Instantly clear designated obstacles within line of sight. Apprentice level. 1 meter in diameter range. Regardless of material. Consumes host stamina. This scene was all too familiar. This was his previous life. The moment he and Jingyao simultaneously awakened their systems. In the last life, as the older brother, he pitied his weak sister since childhood. Thought the stockpile system required too much running around, and carrying supplies was too exhausting for logistics. So he actively chose the clear system. Even though every use depleted his stamina, causing blinding headaches, he still rushed to the front lines. He built the camp by hand, and even used his body to block zombies. Letting his sister take the soul system, she comfortably stayed in the safe house he cleared, enjoyed everything without effort. And the outcome? He fought desperately, but handed all spoils and resources for his sister to manage. When he was gravely wounded and needed supplies to survive, the one holding the warehouse key chose to save a bit of food by locking him outside to feed the zombies. Brother. A sharp cry snapped Jingyan back to reality. He turned his head, snorted, seeing the situation. You've been reborn too. He saw not far away, wearing a white dress, dressed like a pure angel. Jingyao also opened her eyes. The confusion in her eyes lasted only a moment. Once she saw the 2 floating icons, her gaze instantly turned greedy and wild. She was reborn too. Jingyan's lips curved into a cold smile, quietly observing her actions. At this point in the last life, Jingyao was still acting cute. Brother, that red one looks scary. I want the golden one. It looks like a wallet, so lucky. But this time, Jingyao didn't even glance at the golden icon. And even the fake brother sounded perfunctory. She stared directly at the red clear system. In his memory, Jingyan in the previous life was a war god. With a wave of his hand, a 3-meter wide area vanished. Waves of zombies turned to nothingness. That was true power. That was the foundation for survival in the apocalypse. As for stockpiling, hey, in the last life, those supplies were important. But nothing compared to an ability that controlled life and death. With power, would you still worry about not getting supplies? She was done hiding behind her brother as warehouse manager last time. This time she would be the master, who decided life and death with a wave of her hand, ruling over others. Brother, I want the red one. Jingyao gave Jingyan no time to react. Like a child afraid her toy would be stolen. Using all her strength, she lunged at the clear system on the right. Her movements desperate and savage, not caring about her usual ladylike image. The instant her finger touched the red icon, her face lit up with ecstatic joy, looking back at Jingyan with a smug gaze, and a deeply concealed sense of intimacy. Silly brother, you still don't know, do you? The strongest ability has already been taken by me. This time it's your turn to beg me. Jingyan stood still, hands in his pockets, calmly watching her display her ugliness. He did not fight, did not compete, didn't even lift his eyelids, until Jingyao fully bound herself to the clear system. The red glow of the system fused into her body. He leisurely took long steps, walking toward the abandoned stockpile system. Yao, are you sure you want to pick that one? Jingyan's voice was eerily calm, with not a hint of emotion. That one looks like a combat type. It's gonna be tough. Jingyao, who just acquired her godlike skill, was now extremely arrogant. She flicked her hair, pretending to be mature, saying, Brother, I figured it out too. You've always protected me since we were little. This time, I'll protect you. Fighting and killing, the dirty and tiring tasks. I'll handle them. The golden one is probably just a storage space, which fits someone as careful as you. You'll just be in charge of logistics. Protect me. Jingyan sneered in his heart. You want to turn me into your tool again. And just like how I protected you in my past life, drain every bit of value out of me. Too bad, you have no idea the price of the Starry Sky system. In the previous life, Jingyan could use it well, because he possessed top-tier combat instincts and a powerful physical constitution. Even so, the weakness after each use felt like a severe illness. And a pampered lady like Jingyao, who can't even unscrew a bottle cap, will probably be bedridden for 3 days after just one use. Most importantly, the Starry Sky system cannot produce any resources.
Nor can it store any resources.
In that apocalypse where even steel would crack from the cold, having an ability that provides no food or clothing, and no heat is just a joke. Jingyan reached out, his long fingers gently touching that golden infinity symbol. Buzz. A warm golden light instantly enveloped his body. A grand gate seemed to open deep within his brain. A vast, boundless, and static subspace, perfectly linked with his consciousness. At this moment, his sense of security returned. System binding successful. Host, Jingyan. Ability, infinite. Stockpiling, basic. 167 hours and 59 minutes until the apocalypse arrives. The white light dissipated. The noise surged back like a tide. Car horns, people's chatter, the sound of a mall promotion broadcast in the distance. Jingyan snapped his eyes open. He found himself sitting on the leather sofa at home. The sun was shining brightly outside. The air conditioner was blowing a comfortable 26-degree breeze. An unfinished iced Americano sat on the coffee table. Water droplets were slowly sliding down the condensation lines on the cup. This real warmth of being alive made him almost want to cry, but he didn't have time for that. Opposite him, Jingyao had also woken up. She was sitting on a single-seat sofa, waving her arms at the air with an excited expression, seemingly testing her superpower. Clatter. The crystal ashtray on the coffee table suddenly vanished into thin air. Jingyao's face turned pale. She clutched her chest and gasped, but then showed an expression of ecstasy. It's true, it's really true. I have that power now. She suddenly turned her head to look at Jingyan. Her eyes no longer held the previous dependence, but naked arrogance. Brother, I'm a bit tired. Pour me a glass of water. Also, give me the bank card our parents left behind. I'm going out to buy some things to prepare. Her tone was as if she were ordering a servant. Jinyan picked up the iced Americano in front of him and took a slow, deliberate sip, bitter and cold, refreshing. He put down the cup, looking at his younger sister, who had pushed him into the abyss in his previous life, and slowly uttered one word: get lost. Only the dead keep secrets. The air froze in that second. The smile on Jingyao's face stiffened. She even doubted if she had misheard him. Ever since they were little, Jinyan had been completely submissive to her. He'd give her the moon if she asked for the stars. Their parents died early, and as the elder brother, he was like a father to her. Jinyan had raised her with almost excessive indulgence. Forget saying, get lost.
He rarely even raised his voice.
Brother, what did you just say? Jingyao's eyes widened. Her eyes turned red instantly, and that pitiful look of hers was truly an Oscar-worthy performance. Are you still blaming me for taking the red system? But I did it to protect you. Jinyan said, get out. Jinyan stood up. His 185 centimeters height brought a strong sense of pressure. He looked down at Jingyao, his eyes as cold as if looking at a corpse. Also, this is my house. The title deed has my name on it. I'm giving you 10 minutes to pack your things and leave. Are you crazy? Jingyao finally couldn't keep up the act. She stood up screaming, this is also our parents' house. What right do you have to kick me out? And I've awakened the strongest ability now. Do you know what that means? The end of the world is coming soon. Only I can protect you. If you offend me now, when you beg me later, I won't help you at all. She was too confident. She thought Jinyan was still that fool who didn't know the future, thinking that as soon as she revealed her identity as an awakened, Jinyan would suck up to her like in the previous life. Jinyan laughed.
His laugh was somewhat grim.
He approached Jingyao step by step, until he backed her into a corner. The strongest ability? Jinyan repeated in a low voice. Suddenly, he slammed his fist into the wall next to Jingyao's ear, making a loud bang. Jingyao screamed in terror, squatting down and clutching her head. Is your so-called ability just making a few of your trashy clothes disappear? Jinyan looked down at her, his voice deep and husky. Jingyao, did you forget? Your ability can only clear things out. It can't create food. In 7 days, the temperature will drop to 60 degrees below zero. Without food, without clothes, and without heating. Even if you could make this whole building disappear, you'd still freeze to death. Or starve. Jingyao trembled. She had indeed overlooked this issue. But she quickly stiffened her neck and shouted, so what? I can just steal it. Anyone who doesn't give me supplies, I'll make them disappear. As for you, what's the use of guarding a useless warehouse? In the end, you'll still have to rely on me. Is that so? Then good luck. Jinyan didn't want to waste any more words with her. He turned and walked to the entryway, pulling the front door wide open. Now get out, or I'll have security drag you out. Don't forget, we still live in a society governed by law. I can call the police for trespassing. Jingyao looked at Jinyan's resolute back, the resentment in her eyes almost overflowing. Fine, very fine. Since you're being so heartless, then don't blame me for being ruthless. When the apocalypse comes, I'll see how you beg me while holding a bunch of junk. Jinyan, don't you regret this? Jingyao rushed into her room, haphazardly stuffed a few designer clothes and jewelry into a suitcase, and stormed out of the front door in a rage. Before leaving, she glared at Jinyan viciously. In this life, I'll make you die like a dog right in front of me. Bang! The door slammed shut. The world went quiet. Jinyan leaned against the door, letting out a long, heavy sigh. Step 1. The cut is complete. Without this dead weight and that backstabbing ingrate, I can finally go all out and get to work. He took out his phone, checked the time. 10 a.m., December 21st, 2025. Exactly 7 days before the apocalypse arrives. He was calculating in his mind. He had this luxury flat in the city center, worth about 8 million. The savings and stocks left by his parents added up to about 3 million. A total of 11 million. It seems like a lot, but it's far from enough. To build a doomsday bunker that can withstand minus 70 degrees Celsius, hold off zombie hordes, and even block missile attacks, plus stockpiling enough supplies. to last a person several lifetimes of squandering. This bit of money isn't even enough to get stuck in his teeth. Jinyan walked into the study, opened the computer. His fingers tapped rapidly on the keyboard.
He logged into a dark web forum.
That he had found by chance in his previous life. An underground channel. Instant sale upon posting. City center luxury mansion. 20% off market price. Cash only. Instant payment. Ready for viewing. Then he dialed a number in his contacts. Saved as President Zhang. Hello, Uncle Zhang. It's Jinyan. Yes, I want to take out a mortgage loan. I'll put up all my company shares and my current house as collateral. The sooner the better. I don't care if the interest is high. Yes, it's urgent. I want to go abroad for a big business deal. He hung up the phone. Then he dialed several private lenders, commonly known as loan sharks. Is this the Fortune God Company? I want to borrow money. I have my ID and household registration, as long as the payout is fast. I'll accept borrow 9, return 13. If this were before, I would never touch these things. Now there are only 7 days left. Before the world collapses, the banking system will be paralyzed. Credit reports will become scrap paper. Even the creditors will turn into zombies. In that case, why not borrow? Not just borrow, but borrow to the max. He was going to use the money of future dead people to sustain himself right now. In just one afternoon, Jinyan was like a crazy gambler. At an extremely low price, he signed a pre-sale contract for the house at $6 million and got half as a deposit. He pledged the company shares left by his parents, cashing out $5 million. He maxed out all online lending platforms and credit cards, gathering $2 million, plus the cash on hand. His current liquid capital had reached a staggering $16 million, and the money from the loan sharks would arrive tomorrow. At least $3 million more, which is almost enough. Looking at the bank card, that dazzling string of numbers, Jinyan wasn't excited at all. There was only a sense of urgency. Money is just scrap paper. Only converting it into supplies will save his life. He walked out of the house, driving the off-road vehicle he hadn't had time to sell yet, heading straight for the outskirts. His goal was very clear. Target: the abandoned cold chain logistics park in the western suburbs. It was once the city's largest cold storage base, later abandoned after the owner ran off with the funds. The location was remote. The surrounding terrain was open, easy to defend and hard to attack. Most importantly, there was a massive underground cold storage, with walls over a meter thick, designed specifically for insulation. With a little modification, it would be a natural shelter. In his previous life, it was occupied by a gang, becoming one of the largest survivor bases later on, known as the Ice-Free Port. In this life, it belongs to me. Crazy shopping list. Western suburbs abandoned cold chain logistics park. The place was overgrown with weeds. The massive factory buildings were like a sleeping steel beast. Crouched on the wasteland, Jinyan found the old man guarding the site. Since it was a distressed asset, it was going through a judicial auction process, but it kept failing to sell. Jinyan directly slapped down $20,000 in cash. $20,000 to rent it for half a month. No contract, just the keys. Clear the place out now. He said he wanted to rent it for a horror escape room for half a month, setting up the escape scene. And no contract, just the keys. Looking at the thick stack of $100 bills, the old man's dentures almost fell out from smiling. All right, I won't disturb your experience. I'm leaving now. He handed over the keys without a word. He even considerately took away his big yellow dog, for fear of disturbing this rich kid's experience of life. The moment he got the keys, Jinyan locked the main gate. He walked into that massive underground cold storage. Although it had been abandoned for 2 years, since it was 10 meters underground, it was still cold and damp. The echoes were vast. The sound of footsteps was exceptionally clear. The area was about 3,000 square meters, with a ceiling height of 8 meters. System scan current space. Jinyan thought. Scan complete. Semi-enclosed underground space detected. Meets basic conditions for safe house modification. Enable space anchoring? Once anchored, this space will serve as a transit station for supplies in the real world. You can use your mind at any time to teleport external supplies directly here. The host must be within contact range, or release supplies from the system space here.
Done.
Location secured. Next is to fill it up. Jinyan was in no hurry to go to the supermarket. That's what amateurs do. Not only is supermarket retail expensive, but the stock is also low. It's easy to attract attention. He drove directly to the city's largest wholesale agricultural products market. At 3 p.m., when the wholesale market starts to slow down a bit, Jinyan walked into the largest grain and oil wholesale shop. The owner was calculating accounts with a cigarette in his mouth. Seeing Jinyan come in, he didn't pay much attention. Take what you need and buy it. Convenience store is at the entrance. Boss, I want rice. Jinyan glanced at the mountain-like piles of rice bags. How much per ton for the best Wucheng rice? The boss was stunned. Ash fell onto the ledger. How much do you want? How much do you have in stock? Quite ambitious. The boss laughed. I have 50 tons of Wuchang rice alone in this warehouse, plus 100 tons of ordinary Northeast rice, and 80 tons of flour. What, are you sourcing for a large cafeteria? I'll take it all. Jinyan pulled out a black card and slapped it on the greasy table. Not just these cooking oil, noodles, grains. I want every bit of stock you have in the shop. Additionally, I need you to get me another 500 tons of rice within 3 days, and 300 tons of flour. It must be from the new crop. I don't want old stock. The cigarette fell from the boss's hand. He stared at Jinyan for a full 5 seconds, making sure this wasn't a joke or a short video prank. Brother, this is over 10 million worth of goods. Are you sure? I'll pay a 3 million deposit first. Cash on delivery for the rest. Jinyan remained expressionless. But I have one requirement. After unloading at my designated warehouse, your people must leave immediately. No questions asked. No problem, absolutely no problem. The boss's face turned red with excitement. Business is tough these days. A huge order like this is a godsend. I'll get people to load the trucks right now. Over the next 3 hours, the entire wholesale market was in a frenzy. A mysterious young man was buying like a wholesaler. Buying wholesale. Tenderloin butcher shop, right? For pork. I want 2,000 sides. The half-carcass ones. 500 head of beef. 500 whole sheep. All must be freshly slaughtered. No frozen meat, Mrs. Wang. Vegetables, potatoes, cabbage, radishes, and storable items like sweet potatoes. Give me 50 tons of each. The rest of the leafy greens. Give me 5 tons of each. From the seasoning shops, salt, sugar, soy sauce, vinegar, hot pot base, lao gan ma. Empty out your warehouse for me. If it's not enough, go source more. In the fruit section, apples, pears, oranges. Only the good stuff. And I want 100 tons of watermelons. Yeah, you heard me right. His wild watermelon buying spree over the years even caught the attention of market management. But he already had a story prepared. He said it's for several large mines in remote mountain areas, as annual supplies. And since they're about to seal off the mountain, everything must be stocked up these days. In this age where money opens doors, as long as the cash is there, no matter how ridiculous the excuse, someone will help you. Night falls. The first batch of heavy trucks loaded with grain and oil thunders into the abandoned factory. The workers, though puzzled about why so much grain was being shipped to an abandoned factory, only cared about the thick red envelopes the boss handed out. Shut the doors, left after a hard day. And no one said a word. Once all the workers finished unloading and left, the iron gate was locked again. The huge cold storage was filled with the scent of rice, mixed with the smell of oil, inside Jinyan's nose. It was more alluring than any luxury perfume. He walked over to the 5-meter-tall pile of rice, placed his palm on the lowest bag. Swish, no special effects, no sounds or lights, and no delay. The entire 50-ton pile of rice vanished in a tenth of a second. A huge section of the previously crowded cold storage was instantly cleared out. Jinyan closed his eyes, his mind sinking into the system space. Inside that infinite white space, 50 tons of rice hovered quietly in midair, retaining the shape they had when stacked moments ago, not moving at all. Here, time stands still. How it goes in is how it comes out. No matter what you put in, even after 100 years, the rice still tastes exactly as you remember. Jinyan couldn't help but let out a low, satisfied growl. The thrill of being able to collect everything And control it all is utterly intoxicating. But this is just the beginning. Food is essential for people. Indifferent except for eating. There are more important things. At minus 60 degrees, chickens without heat sources. These foods are frozen solid like rocks. And they turn into ice sculptures too. Jinyan took out his phone and dialed a coal business friend. Old ghost, I need coal. I want high-quality bituminous coal. 10,000 tons and diesel too. You got connections? I need to fill up a couple giant oil tankers. The generators need to be industrial grade. High-powered silent diesel generators. Get me 10 units. Also, solar panels. I want enough to cover the entire factory roof. Hangs up the phone. Jinyan looked at the empty cold storage. His eyes deep. 7 days left. He not only needs to stock enough food in this cold storage to last 10 lifetimes, but also transform it into a temperature-controlled fortress impervious to nukes. As for the money, the loan comes in tomorrow. Keep buying. Just then, his phone suddenly vibrated. It was a WeChat message. Sender, Jin Yao. The message was a photo. In the picture, he and Chun Su were sitting in a fancy French restaurant. On the table were gourmet foie gras and red wine. The caption, poor big brother. After being kicked out, can only eat instant noodles now? Me and the senior are celebrating our new life. If you get down and beg me now, I might consider giving you a piece of bread. Jin Yan looked at the screen, a mocking smile curling at the corner of his lips. Go ahead, eat up. This is the last meal in your life. That can be called real food.
He casually replied, where more?
Then immediately blocked and powered off his phone. The night was deep, but the fire in his eyes had only just been ignited. Superpowers farming inside a doomsday fortress. The night in the western suburb was far from quiet. Welding arcs flashed wildly inside the massive warehouse. The piercing screech of saws rang out again and again. Dozens of workers swarmed like worker ants, busily moving inside the steel beast's belly. Jin Yan stood on the second floor's suspended iron catwalk, with a newly lit cigarette pinched between his fingers. Amidst the swirling smoke, his gaze was fiercer than the weld sparks below. This is where his future lies. Boss, isn't this asking for a bit too much? The speaker was a chubby middle-aged man in dirty work clothes. They called him Old Black, the wildest contractor around. With money in hand, not only can he renovate a cold storage, he could dig you an imperial tomb underground if you wanted. He can pull it off. But now, looking at the dense diagrams in his hands, Old Black had the look of severe constipation. The whole building needs to get a 50 centimeters thick layer of aerospace-grade Aerogel insulation. And on top of that, 2 inner layers of 20 millimeters bulletproof steel plates. Are you trying to stop a nuke? Or Godzilla? Old Black wiped sweat from his forehead. And you want all the original ventilation sealed, leaving only 2 inlets with NBC filtration systems for nuclear, biological, and chemical protection. Brother, this costs serious money. The money's already in your account. Jin Yan flicked his cigarette ash, his voice calm like talking about today's weather. 5 million up front. I want it finished in 3 days. All materials must be on hand. If they're not, go salvage them from other sites. I'll pay triple to make up the difference. If you're short on workers, go hire at triple wages. Paid daily.
He turned to stare at Old Black.
With only one rule. Don't ask why. No photos, no social media. After it's done, you get an extra 2 million hush money. Old Black's Adam's apple bobbed violently. 7 million, that's like 2 years' profit for him. Deal, boss. You're my father now. Since you're so straightforward, I'll say this. If I don't deliver in 3 days, I'll cut my head off and let you use it as a soccer ball. Old Black smacked his chest loud as thunder, then turned to shout downstairs at the workers. Move your asses faster, guys.
Gangsy, go.
Haul over the insulation boards from the stalled construction next door. If anyone tries to stop you, use cash. Watching Old Black, fired up like a rooster, Jin Yan felt absolutely nothing inside. What he was building wasn't just a shelter, but an ecosystem separate from the apocalypse. Last time, lots of survivors only had strong walls, but died of hypothermia from the cold, or lost everything because the ventilation was contaminated by the virus. Total wipeout. This time, He's eliminating every risk. He walked to the corner of the warehouse, where a batch of special cargo had just arrived. Huge wooden crates being pried open, revealing the dark metallic luster inside. This wasn't ordinary steel, but a high-voltage grid generator he'd acquired through special channels, along with military-grade explosion-proof glass. In the early stages of the apocalypse, the most terrifying thing isn't the zombies. It's the human heart, when hunger and cold turn people into beasts. Ordinary roller shutters are as fragile as paper. In the face of a mob, only several thousand volts of electricity can teach those trying to storm the safe house a lesson in manners. The system stored all these construction materials and then fine-tuned them according to the blueprints. While workers could handle the manual labor, Jinyan trusted the system more for the core defensive layout. Taking advantage of the workers' lunch break, he lightly touched the heavy stacks of explosion-proof glass. Dozens of tons of supplies vanished instantly, and under the system's precise control, they were seamlessly embedded into the factory's skylight positions. This godlike operation not only saved time on installation, but also achieved a level of airtight sealing beyond the reach of human craftsmanship. With the structural work done, next was the interior furnishing. Jinyan drove away from the construction site and headed straight for the city's largest furniture expo. Since he was going to live like an overlord in that damn warehouse, his quality of life couldn't drop. I'll take this imported calfskin sofa. It's comfortable to sit on. I want this smart massage bathtub too, the kind with constant temperature heating. This top-of-the-line whole house smart audio-visual system. Pack it up along with these Simmons mattresses. They must be the ones that cost 100,000 each. Give me 10 of them. The saleswoman followed behind him, her face practically frozen from smiling so much. Her pen was flying across the notepad, looking at Jinyan as if he were the god of wealth himself. Sir, are you buying so many mattresses for a hotel? Number. They're for padding the warehouse floor. Jinyan lied nonchalantly. In reality, they were for moisture and soundproofing. In extreme cold weather, the ground conducts an incredible amount of cold. By laying down several layers of top-tier mattresses, and then covering them with thick Persian rugs, even walking barefoot on them would be a luxury. After buying the furniture, Jinyan made another trip to an outdoor gear shop. This was the main event. The best polar cold weather gear, the kind that can withstand -80 degrees. Give me 50 sets. Both men's and women's styles. Although he didn't plan on giving them to others.
It was always good to have spares.
Or he could trade them for sky-high prices later. Tactical boots, heated gloves, ski goggles, ice axes, multifunctional shovels. I'll take everything on this wall. And these military MREs. I'll take as many as you have in stock. While Jinyan was on his shopping spree, a familiar voice suddenly came from the VIP lounge behind him. Oh, honey, look at this jacket. Isn't it pretty? It's just a bit expensive. It's over 3,000. Jinyan paused, turning his head slightly. Through the gaps in the shelves, he saw those two nauseating faces. Jing Yao was holding a pink windbreaker, measuring it against herself, while Chan Su sat on a nearby sofa playing with his phone, looking completely impatient. Yao, we need to save our money. For now. That idiot brother of yours sold the house and didn't give us a dime. We have to plan for the future. Why even mention that ungrateful wretch? Jin Yao threw the jacket back on the rack, her face full of malice. In a few days when I awaken too. In a few days, once I find a job, I'll definitely make him pay. By the way, senior, do you think that doomsday prophecy is real? A lot of people online have been talking about it lately. It's just marketing accounts chasing clout, Chan Su said dismissively. Look at that big sun. Even in winter, it's never been this warm. How could it suddenly freeze over? Don't believe that nonsense. We should think about how to get your brother's money instead. I heard he took out loans from sharks. We can report him for illegal fundraising.
Hearing this,
a cruel smile curled at the corner of Jinya's mouth. This was his dear sister. Even with death approaching, she wasn't thinking about prepping, but how to scheme for his money, and how to report him. He didn't make a sound. Instead, he walked silently to the checkout counter. Everything those two just looked at, take them off my list. I'm not buying them anymore. Jin Yan pointed in Jing Yao's direction. They make me lose my appetite. Furthermore, pack up these most expensive polar survival kits you have. Give me 10 sets. I'll pay by card. As he swiped his card and walked past Jing Yao, he paused intentionally, pulling down the brim of his hat. He let out a cold laugh, his voice only audible to the two of them. Enjoy wearing your skirts while you still can. Wear them for a couple more days. After all, you'll only be wearing burial shrouds later. Jing Yao whipped her head around, but only saw a tall figure, disappearing out the automatic doors. Did that person just now look a bit like Jin Yan? She frowned. You're seeing things. That pauper is probably hiding under some bridge crying right now. There's no way he could afford a high-end shop like this. Chansu curled his lip in disdain. Let's go. Let's get some Japanese food. My treat tonight. Stepping out of the mall, Jin Yan looked up. The sun in the sky was still bright and glaring, but in the air, there was already a faint, imperceptible dryness, and static the omens of the coming blizzard. 96 hours left. Back at the warehouse, the project was moving at an incredible pace. Old Hay really knew his stuff, using his influence to coordinate 3 engineering teams in rotating shifts. In just one day, the originally empty, drafty factory had been transformed into a fortress. Thick insulation covered every inch of the walls, and silver thermal film glittered under the lights. All windows were sealed off, leaving only observation ports reinforced with bulletproof glass. 3 massive solid steel gates were lined up at the entrance, each weighing 2 tons. This wasn't just to keep out zombies. It was to create an airlock system, to lock in the indoor temperature when the extreme cold arrived. Boss, here's that thing you wanted. Old Hay mysteriously pulled Jin Yan to a corner and handed him a heavy, rectangular wooden box. I went to a lot of trouble to get this. It's a breaching axe retired from the fire department, but I had someone requench and sharpen the blade. This thing can split right through a security door now. Jin Yan opened the box. A pitch black, menacing-looking tactical axe lay quietly inside. The blade gleamed with a cold light. Wrapped in non-slip paracord, he gripped the handle and swung it twice. The whistling wind was heavy and powerful. This weight, this feel, reminded him of his past life. The sensation of splitting open a zombie's skull. Good stuff. Jin Yan nodded with satisfaction, pulling 2 stacks of cash from his bag and tossing them to Old Hay. This is for your hard work. Old Hay took the money and gave Jin Yan a complex look. He'd been in this business a long time and had seen many strange people, but someone like Jin Yan both frantic and calm, as if preparing for a certain doomsday future, was a first for him. But he was a smart man. Boss, I don't know what you're up to, but good luck. After Lao He finished speaking, he waved and led the workers away. As the last construction vehicle left, the massive iron gate slowly closed.
Clang.
The heavy locking sound echoed through the empty factory building. Jin Yan stood at the center of this steel fortress that was now entirely his. He looked at the room piled high with supplies. On the left was the food section. 1,000 tons of rice, flour, and cooking oil, enough to feed him for 100 years. On the right was the energy section. Barrels of diesel and mounds of smokeless coal. Rows of solar battery packs. In the middle was the living area. Still unopened top-tier furniture and appliances. Boxes of video games and books. But it still wasn't enough. Far from enough. Jin Yan glanced at his phone. He had less than 500,000 left in his account. He was out of purchasing power through official channels. But half the space was still empty. The real hunt was only just beginning. Since you can't buy it with money, then just take it. After all, that port-bonded area, filled with countless luxury goods and imports, would become a no-man's zone in 7 days. Instead of letting those great things rot in the snow, let me safeguard them for mankind. Jin Yan put on a pitch-black combat uniform, strapped on his night vision goggles, and hung a tactical axe at his waist. His figure melted into the night. Target, Donggang Bonded Logistics Center. Tonight is the crazy zero-cost shopping spree. Zero-cost shopping puts half the city in his pocket. 2 a.m. at Donggang Bonded Logistics Center was brightly lit, but almost deserted. This was the city's largest import-export distribution center. Tens of thousands of containers, stacked like building blocks on the docks, filled with top-tier goods from all over the world. Australian steaks, French wines, Japanese wagyu, even whole shipments of imported luxury cars. Usually security here was tight. But when faced with enough money, all defenses became meaningless. Jinyan didn't force his way in. Earlier in the day, he had blended in, posing as someone scouting for warehouse rental, and secretly left a system spatial anchor in an inconspicuous corner. Right now, he hid in the shadows where the cameras couldn't see him. Like a lurking leopard, the system activated full area scan mode.
Buzz.
An invisible wave rippled out from him. In an instant, it covered everything within 500 meters. Countless glimmers lit up in his mind.
Each one represented a container.
Detailed cargo information appeared next to each point. Container A102, 20 tons of frozen beef imported from Argentina. Container BO55, 300 cases of Bordeaux estate wine. The moment he spotted medicines, Jinyan's eyes lit up. In the apocalypse, a box of antibiotics is worth more than a woman's or even a person's life. With a thought, the giant container filled with medicines, along with its metal shell, disappeared into thin air in less than a split second, directly teleported into his subspace. Not even the dust on the ground was disturbed. The surveillance cameras kept turning mechanically, the security guard in the booth dozing off, with no one noticing anything at all. In that instant, millions of dollars worth of strategic goods changed hands. And that was just the beginning. Jinyan was like a ghost, weaving through the giant container canyons. Collect, collect, collect. With a wave of his finger, containers vanished one after another. To avoid causing panic, he adopted a selective approach.
He only took the cargo inside.
Or just the containers stacked within, leaving the outermost shells intact. So everything seemed perfectly normal. The food zone had tons of chocolate, cheese, and coffee beans, and high-end canned goods. These high-calorie foods were a lifesaver for maintaining strength after the world ended. Luxury items, though, in the apocalypse. Hermes bags aren't edible, but all those expensive cashmere coats, furs, and silk quilts are the best protection against the cold.
He didn't hold back at all.
Cleaning out a warehouse specializing in premium bedding, thousands of down comforters were stored away in seconds. Special equipment zone. He even found a batch of all-terrain snowmobiles ready for export. 20 of them. They were custom-made for a frozen world apocalypse. The perfect vehicles for icy doom. With these, he could travel easily even in meters of snow, leaving those stuck off-roaders far behind. In terms of speed and performance, all mine now. Jinyan grinned, taking it all without a hint of shame. That night, Jinyan nearly emptied half the high-value warehouses in the bonded area. He only stopped when his brain ached. A warning from overusing his mental power. He reluctantly paused. He checked his system space. What had been an empty subspace was now jam-packed. The stockpile had reached a stunning several tens of thousands of tons. If bought with cash, it would cost at least several billion. But now? Zero cost. Just as he was about to leave, suddenly, the roar of engines shattered the night's silence. Several black modified off-roaders roared into the port, stopping by a hidden warehouse not far away. Doors opened, and a dozen burly men with tattoos and clubs, or even homemade shotguns, got out. Some even carried homemade shotguns. The leader, a bald guy with a fierce look, was loudly ordering his men to move the cargo. "Move faster," Brother Long said. "This batch has to move out tonight." The cops have been watching closely lately. The boxes they were carrying had clear hazardous material labels on them. Jinyan narrowed his eyes, initiating a long-range system scan. Scan results. TNT explosives, detonators, ammonium nitrate. It's weapons. Jinyan's heart skipped a beat. This was the biggest local gang, the Black Shark Gang's smuggling base. In his previous life, the Black Shark Gang, relying on their arsenal, took over the city's central stadium and built the infamous Black Shark Camp. Men were enslaved as labor. Women were kept as playthings. Even the official shelter Jing Yao later joined was almost overrun by this group of maniacs. Never expected to stumble upon their weapons cache here. Before, Jinyan would have run without looking back. But now, seeing not just anti-zombie explosives, but TNT that could blast through any stronghold. Jinyan licked his lips. This was practically a delivery right to his door. With these explosives, he had his ace in the hole. If anyone dared attack his safe house, he'd send them all flying. And if all else failed, he could take everyone down with him. That's what you call deterrence. Since he was here, not sorry, without alerting anyone, Jin Yan quietly used the system's powers to sneak around to the back of the warehouse.
His hand
Was pressed against the thin corrugated steel wall of the warehouse. That distance was just within the system's collection range. The system locked onto all explosives inside the warehouse. Collect all of them. Inside the warehouse, the guys moving boxes suddenly saw everything blur before their eyes. The heavy box they had just been holding disappeared. Not only the one in their hands was gone, but also dozens of boxes of explosives piled on the ground. Even the safes full of detonators. All vanished without a trace in an instant. The air suddenly went silent. A dozen gangsters froze in their positions, grabbing at thin air. They stared wide-eyed at each other. It got awkward really fast. What the hell? Where are the boxes? If they're not here, then that's some spooky stuff. Boss Long, bad news. We lost the goods. All of it's gone. The bald boss rushed over, staring at the empty warehouse. The expression on his face changed rapidly, from anger to panic, then to a full-on existential crisis. Who did this? Who the hell did it? Show yourself right now. He pulled out his pistol, swinging it wildly at the air. Meanwhile, the police officer had already slipped away during the chaos, moving as lightly as a cat, and climbed over the port wall, disappearing into the night.
in his storage space
Lay quietly at this moment. Enough powerful explosives to flatten half the city. That sense of security was more real than anything. 24-hour countdown. The final day. The city was still bustling. Office workers hustled for perfect attendance bonuses. Couples argued in malls over which movie to see. Middle-aged women argued too, squeezing and fighting in supermarkets for discounted eggs. No one knew this was the last glimmer before the world was saved. The meteorological center issued a blue cold wave alert. Temperatures were expected to drop by 10 to 15 degrees tomorrow. Nobody paid it any mind. At most, it just meant putting on an extra pair of long johns. Jinyan didn't go out again. He stayed in his fortress in the western suburbs for final checks. All the doors and windows had been welded shut. Only a single main entrance was left. The diesel generator was fully preheated, ready to supply power to the grid at any time. The first batch of smokeless coal was already piled up in the huge fireplace.
He set a copper hot pot on the long table in the living room.
Sliced up some level N9 nuclear beef he got from the port, and chopped up fresh vegetables. A bottle of decanted Lafite sat to the side. He unlocked his phone and checked his moments one last time. Jinya had posted an update an hour ago, with a photo of herself in a thin evening dress, standing on the balcony, letting the wind blow. A bustling city skyline sparkled in the background. Her caption, "Even though winter is coming, my heart is still warm. Thanks to my senior for the wonderful surprise. The future looks bright. Let some people just clutch their moldy money." Jinyan laughed, grinning from ear to ear. He gave it a like and commented below, "Enjoy this last breeze while you can, because soon things are going to heat up." After posting that comment, he pulled out his SIM card and tossed it in the fireplace, letting the flames consume the SIM card, along with his last connection to the old world. Right at that moment, the drizzle outside suddenly stopped, and then a hailstone the size of a ping pong ball slammed hard against the blast-proof glass. It made a dull thud. Then came the second, then the third, followed by a hailstorm pouring down like bullets. A furious wind howled close behind. Temperatures began to plummet off a cliff. An emergency news alert popped up on his phone. Breaking news, affected by a massive polar vortex. Global temperatures will drop by 50 degrees within the next 3 hours. All citizens are urged to go home immediately. Go home right now. This is not a drill. The apocalypse has arrived. Winter is here. The first screams came just 10 minutes later. The world outside the window changed color. The sky, once gray, turned an eerie bluish gray in an instant, like a massive tombstone pressing down on the city. Howling wind drove blizzard-like snow. But it wasn't the romantic kind of snowflakes. It was ice cold like razor blades, savagely slicing through anything exposed. Jinyan sat in the panic room's control center, a dozen large monitors before him, displaying live footage of what was happening outside. Although his factory was in the suburbs, the high-def cameras still caught the chaos on distant highways. He could still see the catastrophe on the far-off roads. In mere moments, the roads were coated with thick black ice. Bang, 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 bang! Chain reaction car crashes happened. But the ultra-cold air froze everything in place, creating an uncanny frozen scene. The flames from crashes were still visible, but their outsides were already encased in ice. People in the cars, panicking, tried to push the doors open and escape, but the doors had already frozen shut. Some smashed the windows to climb out, but the moment they hit the open air, they were instantly sapped of all warmth. Their movements seized up completely, panic frozen on their faces, till they looked like lifelike ice sculptures. The indoor thermometer displayed. Outside, temperatures had already fallen below minus 30 degrees Celsius, and were still dropping at a rate of 1 degree per minute. Meanwhile, the panic room was a steady 24 degrees. The underfloor heating radiated gentle warmth in the air. The air purifier hummed softly, and the humidifier sprayed a faint mist. Jinyan took off his jacket, wearing only a thin t-shirt, and put a perfectly cooked slice of wagyu into his mouth. The fat burst on his tongue, warmth spreading down his throat and into his stomach. That kind of comfort and stark contrast made every cell in his body cheer. Meanwhile, in a high-end downtown apartment. It's freezing. What's going on? Why did the heat stop? Jingyao huddled under the cashmere blanket she'd just bought, still shivering violently from the cold. Her once delicate, pretty face was now deathly pale, her lips turning purple. Just now, the entire complex's heating system had completely shut down due to burst pipes. The temperature inside had already dropped to minus 5 Celsius. That wasn't quite deadly yet. But for someone pampered like Jingyao, it was already hell. Senior, think of something. We're going to freeze to death. She nudged Chansu beside her. Chansu was just as cold, and was frantically piling on every piece of clothing he could find. Quit arguing, I'm freezing too. What's with this messed up weather changing so fast? Hurry, see if there are any heat packs. They're all in that box. Jingyao pointed to a corner. The two of them scrambled through the pile, but only found less than 10 heat packs left. That's nowhere near enough for tonight. All right, your brother. Chansu suddenly had an idea, eyes lighting up. Isn't your brother rich? He must be staying at some big hotel, or has bought some heating equipment. Call him right now. Jingyao grabbed onto hope like a lifeline. With trembling hands, she picked up her phone and dialed Jingyan's number. Sorry, the number you dialed is powered off. Damn it, Jingyao slammed her phone onto the couch in frustration. That bastard. He actually dared to turn his phone off. Don't panic, don't panic. Chansu's eyes flickered. I just remembered. Didn't he say he was heading to the western suburbs before? He mentioned renting a warehouse over there. He must be there right now, hiding out on that side. Let's go find him. Look at all that snow outside. Jingyao glanced out at the terrifying blizzard. She hesitated a little. If we don't go, we're just waiting to die. Chansu said viciously. This snow won't stop anytime soon. In a few more hours, the pipes in the house will burst from the cold. We have a car. There's heating in the car. Let's just drive straight there. As long as we find your brother, with your system and my brains, we've got nothing to be afraid of. By then, all his supplies will be ours. Their greed overcame their fear, or rather, years of habitual plundering, made them feel like it was just another routine taking. They bundled up in every piece of clothing they had, and struggled downstairs, then climbed into the car. The car only managed to start after 3 attempts. The moment the warm air began to blow out, both of them let out a sigh of relief. Let's go. A trace of ruthlessness flashed through Jingyao's eyes as they neared the suburbs. Once we find Jingyan, I'm going to make him kneel in the snow and apologize to me. Beg for my forgiveness for his previous rudeness. At that moment in the western suburbs, Jingyan was staring at a corner of the surveillance monitor. A few stray dogs were huddled together there, shivering. Suddenly, one of the dogs started to convulse violently. its eyes filled with blood in an instant, turning a terrifying crimson. The fangs in its mouth grew longer before their eyes, and its skin split open, revealing dark gray fangs underneath. A woo. A shrill, almost unnatural howl echoed across the wasteland. That mutated zombie pack suddenly lunged at its companions, and with one bite, snapped a companion's neck. Blood sprayed across the snow, instantly freezing into crimson ice crystals. This isn't an ordinary virus. This is a severe cold-wet toxin. They're not afraid of the cold. If anything, the colder it is, the more excited they get. Jingyan put down his chopsticks. They're finally here. He glanced at the time. It'll take Jingyao and the others about 2 more hours to get here. If they don't freeze to death on the way, and don't get eaten by zombies, hopefully they'll catch this show. Jingyan stood up, walked over to the control panel, and pressed the red button. Level 1 Battle Defense Mode activated. The high-voltage electricity at the factory's first line of defense buzzed loudly. Arcs of blue electricity crackling in the blizzard, like a giant net waiting for its prey. And behind the net, Jingyan raised a glass of red wine and toasted the blizzard on the security camera. Welcome to hell. My guests, locked out at -40 degrees. The blizzard in the western suburbs has turned into a white catastrophe. Visibility is less than 5 meters. The gale is like 10,000 steel knives dancing in the air, screaming shrill whistles. A white BMW X5 was like a drunk, struggling to crawl down a road half a meter deep in snow. The wipers froze long ago and snapped off. A thick shell of ice covered the windshield. They could only see the road through a small hole. Why aren't we there yet? Didn't you say it's only 20 kilometers? Jingyao sat in the passenger seat, wrapped in 2 down blankets. Yet her teeth were still chattering uncontrollably, clicking together with a sharp sound. Her hair was frosted white. Her once perfect makeup had long smudged, eyeliner smeared all over her face, looking just like a ghost crawling out of a well. Stop it, stop arguing. Chansu's hands gripping the wheel were completely numb, covered in purplish frostbite. GPS says we're almost there. Damn it, you can't see the road at all. A sharp noise. The car suddenly dropped, and then died completely. The chassis was stuck by a hard block of ice rock in the middle of the road. At this temperature, the driveshaft snapped from the cold. The car's broken. Chansu slammed the steering wheel in despair, his hand hitting the frozen seat cover, the pain twisting his face. What? Jingyao screamed, her voice warped by fear. Do you want me to die here? Chansu, you useless idiot. Shut up, why don't you drive then? Chansu's survival instinct kicked in, overpowering his usual act. Get out, that shadow ahead should be the factory. Let's walk. They didn't have any other choice now. Staying in the car would just mean freezing to death. They wrapped their blankets tighter, like 2 clumsy penguins, stumbling into the blizzard. Cold wind flooded their collars instantly, like a bucket of ice water poured over their heads, taking the last warmth away. Jingyao felt like her lungs were about to explode from the cold. Every breath was torture. 500 meters, a distance they'd normally cover in minutes, took them a full half-hour to walk. When that abandoned factory, like a steel behemoth, appeared before them, they nearly crawled to the gate on their knees. But what they saw left them dumbfounded. This wasn't an abandoned factory. This was clearly a steel fortress. The rundown red brick walls were fully covered by silvery gray metal plates, with no gaps at all. All the windows were sealed up, only a few dark observation holes exposed. The 3-meter-high walls even had barbed rolling wire installed, shining coldly in the blizzard. Most infuriating of all, even through the thick walls, they could almost feel a hint of warmth coming from inside. Jingyan, Jingyan, I know you're inside, open the door. Jingyao rushed to the giant steel gate, frantically pounding on the metal. Thud, thud, thud as her palms hit the steel. The sound was muffled, but her hands hurt like hell. Bro, it's Yao Yao. I'm about to freeze to death. Open up and let me in. Jingyan, it's Chansu. We're family. How can you just let us die out here? They shouted themselves hoarse, their voices quickly swallowed by the wind. Inside, Jingyan sat on a huge, genuine leather couch. In front of him was a wall covered in security screens. On the screens, 2 blurry heat signature figures were pressed up against the gate, like 2 pitiful flies. He held a freshly opened glass of Lafite, lightly swirling it, the wine clinging thickly to the glass under the light. In the copper pot beside him, chili oil bubbled. A few strips of tripe cooked up and down, releasing a maddening spicy scent. System, turn on the external speaker. Jingyan ordered calmly, already activated. The outdoor speaker crackled with electric static, startling them both. Then a lazy, calm, and even slightly amused voice rang out in the storm. Who's making such a racket in the middle of the night? Don't you know disturbing others is against the law? Hearing this voice, Jingyao's tears came pouring down, tears of both excitement and grievance. Bro, it's me. I'm your sister. Open the door, it's freezing out here. We're going to die. Oh, little sister. Jingyan spoke at a steady pace, accompanied by a slurp, as if he was eating something. This duck intestine's a bit overcooked. Who did you say you are? Outside, Jingyao nearly choked from anger. She was freezing like a dog out there, while he was having hot pot inside, with duck intestines no less. That damn imagination had her mouth watering instantly, her stomach growling. Jingyan, stop playing dumb. I know you can hear me. I'm Jingyao, your one and only sister. She screamed. Open up. I'll explain everything once I'm inside.
It was all a misunderstanding.
A misunderstanding? Jingyan set down his chopsticks, picked up the microphone, staring at the twisted face on the screen, his eyes suddenly turning cold. That slap was a misunderstanding. Telling me to get lost was a misunderstanding? Or are you saying leaving me to die like a dog in front of you was also a misunderstanding? That was just angry talk. Jingyao panicked. Bro, you're a man. Why are you so petty? I was wrong before. I apologize now. Is that good enough? Sorry. Okay, now open the door. That's not an apology. That's clearly an order. In his mind, as long as she lowered her head and said those 3 words, Jingyan was supposed to forgive her. That's the rule for 20 years. Too bad the rules have changed.
If saying sorry was enough.
Why would we need the police? Jingyan laughed coldly. Since you're so tough, why don't you use your best power to get in? Didn't you say you have a wipe out system? This door's bothering you. Then wipe it out. This realization hit Jingyao like a bolt of lightning. Right, I have a system. She had been so frozen she'd gone stupid. Actually, forgetting that she wasn't awakened. Fine. If you won't open the door, then I'll open it myself. Don't come begging me when the time comes. A flash of ruthlessness crossed Jingyao's eyes. She took a deep breath. Though her frozen fingers were a bit unresponsive, she still slammed her palm violently onto that steel door. Energy surged through her body. ****. A red light erupted from her palm, slamming violently against the door panel. However, the expected scene of the door vanishing did not occur. On the contrary, that red light seemed to hit an invisible wall, rebounding instantly. The shock numbed Jingyao's arm, sending her falling backward onto her but in the snow. System warning, target object density is too high. Object reinforced by high-level energy. Space anchored. Host current level, LV. Unable to clear. Forced clearing will consume life force. No. Impossible. Jingyao looked at the door in disbelief. The door hadn't budged an inch. Not even a chip of paint had fallen off. My system is the strongest. How can it not even open a door? From the loudspeaker, Jingyan's merciless laughter rang out. Forgot to tell you. I used 5 million worth of aerospace-grade alloy for this door, and my system seems to be a perfect counter to yours. Your clearance can't wipe out my horde. Now, beat it. Don't dirty the snow at my doorstep. Loudspeak. Off. Immediately after, the searchlights above the gate flared to life. 2 blinding beams of light hit them right in the face, leaving them unable to open their eyes. It was an order to leave, and an act of humiliation. Jingyao sat in the snow, feeling the chill seep deep into her bones. Looking at that door that would never open, she experienced true despair for the first time. The mercy of a meat bone. If the cold was a physical attack, then Jingyan's next move was a mental magic attack. Half an hour passed. Jingyao and Chen Su had not left. It wasn't that they didn't want to, but they simply couldn't. The car was broken. And in this wilderness, going back was a death sentence. They could only huddle together. In a leeward alcove of the factory gate, like two rats huddled for warmth. This alcove was the only place sheltered from the biting wind. But even so, the temperature was terrifyingly low. What do? I can't feel my feet anymore. Jin Yao's lips had turned a dark purple, and her eyelashes were covered in ice beads. Chansu was in even worse shape. He had given one of his few layers to Jin Yao. Now his whole body was shaking violently, and his eyes were starting to lose focus. Don't sleep. If you sleep, you won't wake up. Just then, a mechanical whirring sound came from above. The two of them struggled to look up. On the wall about 3 meters high, an exhaust vent slowly opened. An aroma so rich it could make your soul leave your body drifted out. It was beef tallow hot pot base, mixed with the scent of sliced mutton, and even a hint of fresh green onion. In this apocalypse filled with the stench of rotten ice, this scent was practically a temptation from heaven. Smells so good. Jing Yao swallowed unconsciously, even though her throat was as dry as if it were on fire. Asterisk grumble. Asterisk Chun Su's stomach let out a thunderous growl. Wanna eat? That devilish voice rang out again. Jing Yan stood on the second-floor terrace, inside a glass enclosure, holding that unfinished bowl of hot pot. He looked down at the two dying people below, as if looking at two stray dogs begging for food. Jing Yan, I'm begging you. Give me a bite. Just one sip of hot soup. Chansu finally broke down. Dignity? Pride? They were all bullshit in the face of survival instinct. He knelt in the snow, kowtowing frantically toward the balcony. I'm Chansu. I used to teach you how to play basketball. For the sake of our past friendship. Save me. Friendship? Jing Yan smiled. He casually picked up a piece of freshly cooked fatty beef. When you guys locked me out of the house, did you care about friendship? He loosened his grip. That steaming, red-o-dripping piece of beef fell under the force of gravity. Asterisk splat. Asterisk it landed right in front of them, though it was stained by the dirty slush. Its enticing color still made their eyes turn green with greed. Chansu almost instinctively lunged for it, but Jing Yao was faster. This is mine. This young lady who usually only drank Evian water now lunged forward like a rabid dog, grabbing the meat stained with dirty slush. Without even pausing to blow on it, she stuffed it directly into her mouth. The searing heat burned her tongue, but she couldn't bear to spit it out, swallowing it whole without even chewing. In that moment, the surge of heat made her let out a sound of pure satisfaction. Is it good? Jing Yan asked. It's good, it's so good. Jing Yao nodded through her tears, completely unaware of how hideous she looked right now. If it's good, then have some more. Jing Yan picked up a plate of leftovers, filled with chewed bones, peppercorns, and chili skins, along with some overcooked vegetable leaves. Asterisk splash. Asterisk he poured the bowl of soup straight out the window. This wasn't to feed them, but rather, it was poured directly into the alcove where they were sheltering. The scalding soup hit the ground at -40 degrees and froze instantly, turning into a greasy, foul-smelling layer of ice. What was once a dry patch where they could barely survive was now a sheet of ice where they couldn't even stand. Oops. My hand slipped, Jing Yan said without a hint of sincerity. Since you're full, you'd better get lost now. My security system just detected that some little friends were attracted by that scent. What? Before the two could react, out in the distant wind and snow, several pairs of glowing green eyes suddenly lit up. Asterisk awoo asterisk low growls drifted over on the wind. It was those mutated zombie dogs. They had a keen sense of smell. To them, the scent of hot pot was like a beacon in the dark. And the scent of these two living humans was an even more irresistible delicacy. Run now. Chansu reacted first, grabbing Jing Yao to pull her away. But the ground was frozen solid by that soup. Their feet slipped, and they fell hard on their faces. In that brief delay, the first zombie dog had already lunged. It was a mutated Tibetan Mastiff, as large as a bull, covered in rotting flesh, and draped in icicles. Its bloody maw snapped directly at Chansu's thigh. Help me, Jing Yan, help. Chansu let out a squeal like a stuck pig. He kicked frantically at the dog, but the creature felt no pain. In the moment of crisis, a flash of viciousness crossed Chen Su's eyes. He suddenly grabbed Jingyao beside him and shoved her with all his might into the dog's mouth, using the momentum to roll away. "Senior, what are you doing?" Jingyao screamed in terror, seeing that stinking, massive maw about to snap her neck. In that split second between life and death, the will to live overcame her fear. Jingyao's eyes widened, staring fixedly at the dog's head lunging at her. In her mind, that red icon flashed frantically. "Disappear!" she roared in her heart. This time, the target wasn't a multi-ton steel door, but a creature of flesh and blood. Asterisk bang. Like a watermelon smashed by a hammer, that giant Tibetan Mastiff's head, only 1 centimeter away from Jingyao's nose, suddenly exploded. There was no blood and flesh flying everywhere, because all the matter was instantly erased on contact with the clearing rule. Everything was wiped out completely, leaving only half of a headless dog corpse, which crashed heavily onto Jingyao due to inertia, almost crushing her. Host killed a level 1 mutant creature, gained 10 experience points. Overexertion warning. Jingyao felt like needles were stabbing her brain. The intense pain made her vision go black. She almost fainted, but she survived. And she discovered something. Her system might not be able to open doors, but it's seriously strong at killing things like this. This show is actually getting interesting. Upstairs, Jingyan put down the binoculars. A hint of amusement flashed in his eyes. He wasn't surprised that Jingyao could fight back. After all, she's an S-class combat type. If she died that easily, how would the rest of the game go? Since you don't want to leave, I'll point you in the right direction. Jingyan's voice sounded again, carrying a bit of devilish temptation. Head east for 200 meters. There's a security booth. That used to be the doorman's place. Even though the windows are broken, at least there's a roof. That's your only chance of survival tonight. With that, the window closed completely. The lights went out, leaving only the two of them shivering in the darkness, and those gathering green eyes all around. Walking towards the security booth, Jingyao shoved the dog's corpse off herself and struggled to her feet. She didn't even glance at Chen Su. That push just now, she remembered. In the very last second before the zombie dogs surrounded them, the two of them scrambled toward the rundown security booth. A bloody incident caused by a stick of sausage. The security booth was tiny, drafty on all sides. Half the window glass was already broken. The door couldn't even close properly. But compared to the open, snowy outdoors, this place at least gave a bit of psychological comfort. They used old wooden boards and torn newspapers to barely cover the windows. Collapsed on the dusty floor, panting heavily. "Yo, are you okay?" Chansu moved closer, trying to grab Jingyao's hand, with a flattering grin on his face. "Just now, I was trying to push it away, not to push you. Don't get me wrong, get lost." Jingyao coldly shook off his hand. Her eyes were cold and menacing. After what just happened, that innocent facade of his finally cracked a little, revealing his selfish, cold-blooded nature inside. "Don't think I don't know what you're thinking. Chansu, I used to take care of you because you were good-looking and did well in school. Now you're just useless." Jingyao leaned against the corner, closed her eyes to recover her strength. "Starting now, if you ever try to touch me again, I'll make your head move just like that dog's." Chansu froze completely. He looked at Jingyao's bloodstained profile. A trace of hatred flickered in his eyes, but he quickly hid it. He knew the current Jingyao was holding that terrifying erasure system. It might not get food, but killing him would be a piece of cake he could only endure. Gurgle hunger hit again. That little piece of beef from earlier was long digested. The intense cold was burning through their energy. "Let's look around. Someone used to live here. Maybe there's something to eat." To make himself useful, Chan Su started rummaging through the security booth, which looked like a trash heap. The drawer was full of mouse droppings. The closet only had a few moldy uniforms, just as he was about to lose hope. In a corner under the bed, he touched something hard. He pulled it out and saw. It was a sausage that had fallen into the crack. The casing had already been chewed through a bit by mice, and it was frozen rock hard, like a red stone. But in Chansu's eyes, this was a priceless treasure. He instinctively wanted to hide it. "Hand it over." Jingyao's icy Voice sounded behind him. Chansu froze. He turned and forced a laugh. Yao Yao. Look, I found this. Let's split it half and half. Give it to me. Jing Yao stretched out her hand, her palm faintly glowing red. The threat was obvious. Chansu gritted his teeth, reluctantly handed the sausage over. Jing Yao snatched it directly, not intending to share it all. She tore open the packaging, not caring if there were bacteria on it, and a bit right in. The frozen sausage made her gums bleed, but that starchy, meaty flavor drove her crazy. Crunch, crunch. She ate 2/3 in just a few bites. Only a tiny bit was left. Seeing Chansu's dog-like craving look, Jing Yao let out a cold hum and tossed the tiny bit at him like charity. Take this as your reward, remember. From now on, hand anything you find over to me first. What I leave behind is yours. Chansu picked up the dirty sausage bit, stuffed it into his mouth, and even chewed through the plastic wrapping. He swallowed and lowered his head. No one saw the hatred in his eyes. Just wait, Jing Yao. When I get a power too, or when this damn snow finally stops, I'll make you regret it. Meanwhile, in the basement of the safe house 200 meters away, Jin Yan was soaking in a heated massage bath, holding a tablet, even though the public network was down. The military-grade satellite receiver he'd installed still picked up global signals. On the screen, news from all over the world was scrolling. New York entered a state of emergency. Manhattan was frozen over. Tokyo experienced massive riots. The self-defense force lost contact. Emergency notice from the Waxia region. The nation has activated the highest-level emergency plan. Official shelters are open everywhere. Survivors are urged to go to the nearest shelter. In this city, the shelter is at East City Sports Center. Shelter No. 7. East City Sports Center. Jing Yan looked at the coordinates, tapping his finger lightly on the edge of the tub. In the previous timeline, that place really was the largest official base in the beginning. But because there were too many people, supplies ran out incredibly fast. And with total mismanagement, less than a month in, that famous granary riot broke out. Tens of thousands died. After that, the military withdrew, and the place was divided up by several major gangs. It became a true living hell. And it was then that Jing Yao, with her barrier-clearing ability, became a tool for the official engineering team, forced to clear the snow-covered roads every day. In exchange for half a bun, if lucky. Looks like history hasn't changed. Jing Yan turned off the news. Opened the system interface. Current hoarded total, 32,000 tons. System level, LV powder. Experience points, 0/100. Level up requirement. Collect 10 level 1 zombie crystal cores. The crystal core. Jing Yan stood up from the bathtub. Water droplets rolled down his toned muscles. In the last life, people didn't realize until the 3rd month of the apocalypse that the crystal cores in zombies' brains could be used to enhance abilities. But he knows now. Although most zombies at this stage still haven't evolved crystal cores, some mutated animals, like those dogs earlier, have a high chance of having them inside. That idiot Jing Yao was too focused on killing dogs and keeping secrets just now, and left the most valuable loot in the snow. That's my EXP bag. Can't waste it. Jing Yan dried off his body and put on a set of lightweight nano-thermal combat gear. Grabbed his tactical axe. He decided to head out for a spin on this very first night of the blizzard raging to claim his first big haul, and also check out the 2 guard dogs living in the security booth to see if they've frozen to death. Premier kill, the lure of the first haul, 3 a.m. The blizzard weakened a bit, but the temperature was holding steady at a despairing -50 degrees. This is a no-go zone for living things. Even steel, at this temperature, becomes as brittle as glass. A light tap would shatter it. But out on the wasteland west of town, a dark figure was moving. Jing Yan was wearing a full enclosed nano-heated combat suit. This was a custom outfit he'd paid a fortune for. Inside the thin graphene fabric, micro-heating wires were embedded throughout, powered by the nuclear battery on his waist, kept his body temperature at a comfy 25 degrees. The helmet had both infrared thermal imaging and night vision. The breathing mask filtered any moisture from the air. He was holding his pitch-black tactical axe, walking on the snow, making crunching noises underfoot. about 50 meters ahead of him. The group of zombie dogs that attacked him earlier still hadn't left. They were circling the security booth, occasionally scratching at the metal walls with their claws, letting out grating metallic screeches. 7 total. Through thermal imaging, Jingyan calmly marked each target.
He marked the targets calmly.
These zombie dogs were fierce, but this was when they were most relaxed. And while the extreme cold hadn't killed them, it did freeze up their joints, making them move at least 30% slower than usual. This was his chance. Jingyan steadied his breathing and suddenly charged out from behind his snow hideout. He moved extremely fast, like a streak of black lightning. The first zombie dog was still growling at the security booth, didn't even react. Before Jingyan's axe had already reached it, a dull splat sound. The sharp edge of the tactical axe split its hard skull right open. The black foul blood didn't even have time to spurt before it froze into icy beads in midair. Killed level 1 zombie dog, EXP gained. The commotion alerted the other 6 dogs instantly. Awu, the lead dog, the biggest Tibetan Mastiff zombie, suddenly whipped its head around. Its eyes glowed an eerie green and stared dead at Jingyan, with foul, salty drool dripping from its mouth. It pushed off with its back legs, its massive body charging like a tank. If it were a regular person facing that kind of attack, the only outcome would be getting torn apart. But Jingyan wasn't an ordinary man. He had an infinite compression space. Right as the Mastiff lunged, half a meter from him, and its bloody maw was about to bite his throat, Jingyan suddenly flung open his left hand, aiming at the ground under the Mastiff. In that instant, the ground under the Mastiff, a 2-meter thick ice slab, and the permafrost beneath it, vanished into thin air. This was a trap tactic Jingyan had developed. After lots of experimenting, the flat ground suddenly became a 3-meter deep pit. The Mastiff lost its footing mid-sprint. The momentum sent it crashing down, and it hit the bottom with a heavy thud. A sharp, cracking sound of bones breaking. Strike while it's down. Jingyan didn't hesitate, and jumped into the pit right after, his tactical axe slicing in a perfect crescent arc through the air, using his falling momentum to hack down at the Mastiff's vulnerable neck joint. A ghastly dog head rolled aside. Elite zombie pack destroyed. EXP plus 20. Dropped level 1 power crystal core. Damaged by 1 acquired. Jingyan was delighted. He couldn't be bothered with the rest of the stragglers. Squatted down, fighting off his nausea, and still wearing gloves, dug around inside the Mastiff's shattered skull. Quickly found a fingernail-sized crystal that faintly glowed red and pulled it out. In this freezing snow, the core was actually giving off a bit of warmth. This was the hardest currency in the Apocalypse crystal cores. They're the source of zombie power, and also the key to humanity's evolution. In his past life, these things were hyped up to jaw-dropping prices by major factions. A single level 1 crystal core could be traded for a celebrity beauty, or a ton of rice. The other 5 zombie dogs above the pit were still barking like crazy, but were too scared of the pit to come down. Jingyan looked up, with a cruel grin. No rush. I'll take you all one by one. You're all my EXP bags. With a thought, he took out a modified nail gun from his storage space, hooked up to high-pressure gas. This kind of industrial nail gun is even stronger than a handgun up close, and can punch nails straight into concrete walls. Bang, bang, bang. The next 5 minutes were a one-sided slaughter. Standing at the bottom of the pit, Jingyan was like a marksman at the range, every shot driving a nail accurately into a zombie dog's eye. When the fight was finally over, Jingyan climbed out of the pit, searched all the corpses. Luck wasn't bad. The 7 dogs gave him 3 crystal cores in total, plus EXP. His system's EXP bar was now at 45 100ths. Just have to go before leveling up. Jingyan tossed the cores into his storage space and looked over at the security booth nearby. It was dead quiet over there. The broken window had been patched up, but there were no bloodstains on the ground. Jingyan walked over and kicked open the rickety door. No one inside, just a few messy footprints on the ground, leading off toward the road in the distance. In the corner was half a chewed-up sausage, the wrapper still stained with blood, and on the wall, someone had scratched a crook sentence with their nails. deeply engraved. Clearly, the person carving those words was full of hatred at the time. Just wait, Jinyan. Their vitality is surprisingly strong. Jinyan sneered with disdain. He wasn't worried about these two grasshoppers being able to stir up any waves. In this apocalypse, living is often more painful than dying, especially for those two with ambitions higher than the sky. But leaves is fragile as paper. Since they've gone to the official shelter, they might as well enjoy the benefits there. That's the real battlefield. Jinyan turned to leave, his figure disappearing into the wind and snow. This time going out not only confirmed his combat ability, but also made him certain of one thing. In this world where rules have collapsed, as long as you're ruthless and strong enough, this place is your playground. And his next target is the First People's Hospital in the city center. There, not only are there zombies, but also another urgently needed resource, antiviral serum. Although it can't cure zombie toxins, it can treat regular flu and infections. It's crucial in the early stages. Meanwhile, at the Changdong Sports Center, which has already been converted into a temporary shelter, giant searchlights brightly illuminated the snowy ground all around. Thousands of survivors crowded at the entrance, their cries, curses, and pleas for help blending together. Armed soldiers stood tensely behind the barricades, nervously maintaining order. Don't push. Line up for temperature checks. Anyone with wounds, isolate immediately. Resources are limited. Each person can only get one bowl of porridge per day. If you're full, sign up to join the search and rescue team. Jing Yao and Chen Su were lost among the crowd, looking miserable. Their faces were already frostbitten, turning a terrifying purplish blue. Jing Yao's pair of designer leather boots. They were lost long ago. One foot was wrapped in several layers of rags. A bloody mess. Chen Su looked even more like a beggar, with mucus streaming down his face and frozen onto his chin. Halt, what are you doing? A soldier stopped the two who were trying to cut the line. I'm an awakened. Jing Yao looked as if she were grasping at a life-saving straw, shouting and waving her hands frantically. I have superpowers. I'm special. Let me in. I want to see your manager. The awakened soldier was stunned for a moment, although documents had indeed been issued from above, stating that they should carefully identify people with special abilities. There have been too many imposters these past few days. Prove it, the soldier said coldly. Jing Yao took a deep breath, enduring the exhaustion and the dizziness brought on by hunger. Facing a massive stone roadblock by the side of the road, she reached out her hand. Vanish. Asterisk were asterisk, a flash of red light. The stone pillar, weighing hundreds of pounds, instantly vanished into thin air, as if it had never existed. The surrounding crowd fell silent instantly. The soldier's pupils contracted sharply. He immediately picked up his walkie-talkie, reporting, a spatial type discovered at the sector entrance. Wait, no, it's an erasure type. An awakened is here. Please advise. 5 minutes later, Jing Yao and Chen Su were brought into a warm office. Sitting behind the desk was a middle-aged man wearing a military overcoat. His surname was Wang, and he was the logistics supervisor here. He looked Jing Yao up and down, his gaze carrying a hint of scrutiny and calculation. You say your ability is clear sky? Supervisor Wang gripped a pen in his hand. How big an object can you clear? Can you clear living people? Anything within a 2-meter diameter can be cleared. Because Jing Yao finally felt the warmth of the heater, she spoke a bit more clearly. She immediately began to upsell herself. Living people? I can kill them too. On the way here just now, I killed a mutated Tibetan Mastiff. Sir, I'm a combat-type talent. I want a private room. I want to eat meat. Supervisor Wang laughed. It was the kind of expression one had when hearing a hilarious joke. A combat type, little girl? You kill one dog and you think you're invincible? He stood up, walked to the window, and pointed at the dense tide of corpses outside. There are tens of thousands of zombies out there now. That ability of yours, which can only kill one at a time, and leaves you exhausted after a few uses, is worth absolutely nothing on the battlefield. Something a sniper can do with a single shot. Why would we send you to your death? Jing Yao's face stiffened instantly. Then is my value not enough? Supervisor Wang changed his tone. his gaze falling on the snow-covered runway outside. While your ability isn't good for killing monsters, it's perfect for something else. The heavy snow has blocked the roads now. Supply trucks can't get in, and the airplane runways are buried in snow. We need to clear a lifeline corridor. Using your ability to shovel snow is practically a god-tier skill. Shoveling snow? Jingyao felt she had suffered an extreme humiliation. She was the female lead who had awakened a golden finger system, destined to become the queen of the apocalypse. And they were actually making her a janitor. I won't do it! Jingyao screamed. I'm a superpowered individual. How can you humiliate me like this? I won't do it. The smile on Supervisor Wang's face vanished instantly, replaced by a cold, intimidating pressure. In here, if you don't work, you don't eat. Even for an awakened, resources are distributed based on labor. You can choose not to do it. Then get the hell back out into the snow. He waved his hand. Two nearby soldiers immediately stepped forward, slightly raising their muzzles. Chansu's legs went weak with fear. He quickly grabbed Jingyao's sleeve, winking at her desperately. Yao, don't be impulsive. Let's stay and survive first. Chansu's legs went weak with fear. He quickly grabbed Jingyao's sleeve, winking at her desperately. Jingyao looked at the dark muzzle of the gun, then thought of the hellish cold outside. Her pride shattered. Fine, I'll do it. She gritted her teeth and lowered her head in humiliation. Half an hour later, Jingyao was assigned to the Special Clearance Team. Number 098. Her job was very simple. Standing in front of an engineering vehicle, facing a meter-thick wall of snow and rubble, she had to continuously release her skill. Clear the snow wall ahead. A section vanishes. The convoy moves forward. Clear, then another section vanishes. Every 10 times she used it. She felt a pain in her brain as if it were being struck by a hammer. That was the side effect of mental exhaustion. Hurry up. What are you dawdling for? The convoy behind is waiting. The foreman bellowed through a megaphone. If she slowed down even slightly, she was met with a barrage of verbal abuse. Meanwhile, because Chong-Su had no abilities, he was assigned to the lowest level body removal team.
His task?
Was to take those who had frozen, died of illness, or been bitten to death, and carry them to the incineration pit. The stench there was enough to make one faint, and there was a constant risk of infection. But to stay alive, to get that half of a moldy steamed bun, he had no choice but to endure. Late at night, the two collapsed onto the shared bunks under the gymnasium bleachers. Hundreds of people were crammed in here, with the smell of sweat and stinky feet mixed together. Jingyao looked at her red, swollen, and ulcerated hands, and tears wouldn't stop flowing. It shouldn't be like this. I clearly have a system. I clearly was reborn. She thought of Jingyan, thought of that warm fireplace, that fragrant hot pot, and that comfortable big bed. Jingyan, you must be very proud of yourself right now. Jingyao gripped the filthy blanket tightly, her nails digging into her flesh. Just you wait. Once I climb my way up, once I can meet the top commander here, I will make you spit out everything you've taken. Just then, a shadow blocked her view. It was a bald man with a fleshy face, holding a ham sausage in his hand. He stared lewdly at Jingyao, whose pretty face was still visible, despite the dirt and mess. Newcomer, eh? I heard you're an awakened. Must be tough work. The bald man squatted down and waved the ham sausage under Jingyao's nose. Hey, wanna eat? Come with me to that small cubicle, over there to talk about life. And this sausage is yours. Jingyao was about to explode in anger, but the aroma of the meat made the word, beat it, at the tip of her tongue, be forced back down her throat. She glanced at Chun-Su, who was already sound asleep, and completely unreliable, then looked back at the ham sausage. Hunger finally triumphed over dignity. I want to, she said in a raspy voice. While Jingyao was selling her dignity for 2 ham sausages, Jinyan was driving that all-terrain snowmobile, speeding across the ruins of the city. This feeling is so strange. The once bustling streets are now covered by several meters of ice and snow.
He's racing atop the street lamp.
Beneath his feet within the ice, countless vehicles and corpses are frozen, like a massive amber museum. His target is the first city hospital. Half an hour later,
he arrived at his destination.
The hospital building stands quietly in the darkness. Most of the windows are shattered, looking like wide-open black eyes. This is ground zero. On the plaza at the entrance, froze hordes of zombies densely crowd the space. Most of them still maintain the positions they had in life, either lining up to register or running away, frozen in place by extreme cold in an instant. But Jinyan knows, these things aren't really dead. The moment they sense the heat of a living person, they will wake up immediately. System activate silent field. Jinyan used a small amount of energy around his body, formed a 1-meter radius soundproof barrier. Like a gecko, using his grappling hook, he skips the first-floor lobby completely and climbs up to the third-floor window. The third floor is the pharmacy. He climbs in through the window. There are fewer zombies here, just a few mutated ones in nurse uniforms. Wandering aimlessly, Yan pulls out his tactical axe, silently approaches, takes them out in 2 swift chops. His combat moves are smooth and fluid. Without making any unnecessary noise, he walks up to the pharmacy shelves, sweeps his palm across them, and all the medicines on the shelves vanish instantly. Antibiotics, anti-inflammatories, painkillers, insulin, blood pressure meds. No matter what it is.
He grabs it all just in case.
Just as he's halfway through his sweep, suddenly, intense gunfire erupts downstairs. The rattling of gunshots echoes through the silent night. It's as loud as thunder. Jing Yan frowns. He walks to the window to look down, sees 2 modified riot vehicles, ramming open the hospital entrance, and charging into the plaza. About 7 or 8 armed thugs jump out of the vehicles, AK-47s and shotguns in hand. They madly shoot at the approaching zombie horde. Hurry, blow open the door. Boss said, we only want the plasma in the blood bank and the pharmaceuticals from the pharmacy. Ignore everything else. The scar-faced leader shouts loudly. By the gunfire's flash, Jinyan sees clearly the emblem on their vehicles. A black shark insignia. Black Shark Gang gets them again. Looks like they realize the importance of the medicine too, and came under cover of night to rob the place. Talk about bad luck running into them here. Jinyan sneers. He doesn't rush to leave. Instead, he finds a comfortable position by the window and watches the drama downstairs through the blinds. Observing the show below, Black Shark Gang's firepower is intense. Plus, zombies are sluggish in the cold right now, so they clear out a path quickly, heading straight for the lobby's elevator. But they make a fatal mistake. The gunfire is way too loud. Not just the plaza zombies, but zombies on the surrounding streets. And even more terrifying things in the hospital basement are all awakened. Just as Black Shark Gang storms into the lobby, the ground suddenly cracks open. A zombie over 3 meters tall, covered in bulging muscles, its skin a deep iron gray, bursts out from the underground parking lot. Unlike the usual shriveled zombies, it looks more like an inflated green giant. Tier 2 mutant tyrant. A strength type. Jinyan's pupils narrow slightly. A Tier 2 mutant appearing this soon seems like places as eerie as hospitals are indeed breeding grounds for monsters. What the hell is that monster? The Black Shark Gang members are scared silly. All the AKs fire at the same time. Bullets slam into the tyrant, but only a few blood bursts appear. Can't pierce his muscle layer at all. Roaring, the tyrant bellows, grabs an abandoned stretcher nearby, and throws it like a frisbee. Smash! 2 Black Shark members are instantly pulverized. The scene falls into total chaos. These thugs who were so arrogant a moment ago now start screaming and running to escape. Perfect opportunity. Jinyan's eyes light up. He doesn't care about the Black Shark Gang's lives, but that Tier 2 tyrant core, that can power him up immediately and likely awaken a new skill. And those 2 armored vehicles are solid goods too. Professionally modified riot trucks. Much better for carrying people and supplies than his snowmobile. He stays put, patiently waiting for Black Shark Gang to exhaust the tyrant, and for the tyrant to kill them all. 5 minutes later, it's quiet in the lobby. 7 Black Shark members are all chopped to pieces. Even the tyrant is badly wounded. One eye blown out by a shotgun, body full of shrapnel. Panting heavily, lying on the ground, gnawing corpses to heal up. Now's the time. Jinyan leaps down from the 3rd floor like a fly. Midair, he pulls something from his inventory. Not an axe. But the bundle of TNT he snagged from the port that night. Fuse already lit. Here's a big present for you. Jing Yan adjusts his position midair and throws the TNT bundle precisely at the tyrant, right into that gaping mouth. The tyrant thinks it's food and bites down on it. Jing Yan lands and rolls to absorb the impact, quickly hides behind a massive. Boom! The explosion rocks the entire building. The whole place trembles from the blast. When the smoke clears, the once invincible tyrant has nothing left above the neck, just a huge headless corpse, lying in a pool of blood. Jin Yan walks over, sifting through the pile of flesh for a while. Finally, within a piece of charred tissue, he finds a walnut-sized crystal nucleus glowing deep blue. Obtained Tier 2 strength. Crystal nucleus X1. High purity energy source detected. Absorb now to upgrade. Yes, the crystal nucleus in his hand instantly melts into a warm current that flows into his palm. Jin Yan feels all his bones snapping and crackling. Power surges through him. His perception instantly doubles. System upgrade complete. Current level, level 2. New function unlocked. Spatial blade attack. Spatial blade consumes mental energy. In the real world, creates a 1-meter long spatial rift. Ignores physical defense. Slices through anything. Pierces all defenses. Jin Yan looks at his palm. With a single thought, a jet black line surfaces at his fingertip. He gently swipes it at the side, right across the thick armor of the riot vehicle. Slices it with a single stroke. The steel plate, hard as tofu, is smoothly cut open. Ridiculously powerful. Jin Yan puts away his power. Satisfied, he turns his head, looks at the 2 still running riot vehicles. Inside the trucks are all the supplies Black Shark Gang looted in recent days. Gold, cigarettes, alcohol, and several crates of bullets. Thanks, guys. Jin Yan waves at the corpses on the ground, collects all the loot, vehicles, and cargo, packages everything up to take away. This hospital trip scored him not only medicine, but also an upgrade and a fortune on the side. This is the real pace of the apocalypse. Just as he's about to leave, a weak voice comes from a dark corner. Help, help, help. I'm a Black Shark member who isn't quite dead yet. My lower half is smashed and now, despairingly reaching out a hand and grabbing at Jin Yan's pant leg. I have money, lots of money. Help me. Jin Yan stops, looks down at him. No sign of pity in his eyes. Jin Yan pulls a coin from his pocket and flicks it gently into the pool of blood in front of him. Save it for your ticket to the next life. With that, he climbs onto the snowmobile. The engine roars, and he rides off without looking back, leaving that thug behind in the darkness, staring at that shiny coin. Gasped his last breath. The air here no longer circulates. It's filled with a suffocating stench of corpses, a sour, fermented smell of waste and the mustiness of despair. This stadium once held 50,000 people. Now there are fewer than 30,000 left. The rest either froze to death in the middle of the night, or died searching for supplies, all because of the zombies. What little order there was has already collapsed, with the generator shutting down completely last night. The last glimmer of civilization vanished. In the darkness, people stopped being human. Instead, they became hungry beasts. There's nothing left to eat. They opened the warehouse. The officer hoarded food for himself inside and made us chew on tree bark. The riot broke out without warning. Thousands of survivors, crazed from hunger, broke through the guards' line and surged like a tidal wave toward the central management area. Gunfire, screams, and the sounds of tearing blended together. Yao shrank into a corner of the stands, clutching his worn-down snow shovel tightly. This week had been a living hell for him, his once fair hands covered with frostbite and blisters. That starry system became his only lifeline, but it also condemned him to intense hard labor. Yao, run? This place is done for. Chansu, blood all over his face, rushed over. He'd just snatched a fire axe in the chaos, his eyes fierce as a wolf's. I heard the zombie horde broke through the outer defenses. This place will be dead soon. Where would we even run? Jing Yao looked hopelessly at the swirling snow outside.
It's minus 60 degrees out there.
We'd die if we stepped outside. Go to the western outskirts, find your brother. Chansu grabbed her by the shoulders and shook her hard. I've made up my mind. It was just the 2 of us before. Didn't work. But what if we bring these thousands with us? You think your brother's fortress is so strong? Can he keep out the army and thousands of maniacs? Jingyao was stunned. Chansu's voice was like a devil's whisper. You know, Director Wang still has several armored vehicles and heavy weapons, right? If you tell him, there's a bunker full of supplies in the western outskirts, with heating and electricity, what do you think he'd do? Jingyao's expression changed, from despair to resentment, finally becoming a kind of crazed resolve. Yeah, why should I struggle in hell, while Jingyan gets to live it up in paradise? If you won't open the door to save me, then I'll bring hell to your doorstep. If anyone dies, we all die together.
10 minutes later.
In the central office, Director Wang, sweating, directed his team to destroy the documents. Get ready to evacuate. The mob is almost inside, and radar shows a wave of zombies approaching. Sir, I know a place. Jingyao burst in. Ignoring the gun aimed at her, she shouted loudly, I know where there are supplies. Tens of thousands of tons of supplies. There's a generator, and absolutely secure fortifications. Director Wang whipped around, staring at him intensely. What did you just say? If you're lying, I'll shoot you right now. I'm not lying. That place belongs to my brother. Jingyao, trying to sound convincing, spoke extremely fast. He's an inventory system awakened. Before the apocalypse, he cleaned out all the city's cold storage. It's in an abandoned factory in the western outskirts. If we take it, we can survive. Everyone can live. Director Wang's eyes lit up. That was the greedy spark of hope in despair. Good, very good.
He grabbed the map off the table
And slammed it on the western outskirts. Passed the order. Everyone, listen up. Anyone who doesn't want to die. Anyone who doesn't want to starve. Come with me. Target, western outskirts. Whoever takes it. The supplies inside are yours. The news spread through the shelter like a virus. There's a granary in the western suburbs. Some selfish rich kid hoarded tens of thousands of tons of meat. Let's go kill him and take everything. The rioters who were killing each other suddenly had a common goal. At that moment, class hatred was amplified, becoming the glue holding this desperate army together. Half an hour later, a convoy led by 5 armored vehicles, followed by a dozen modified trucks, and thousands of survivors marching behind, charged into the blizzard. They carried guns, axes, and even steel pipes, with jealousy and survival burning in their eyes. Jingyao sat in the lead armored vehicle, clutching a compressed biscuit Director Wang gave her. A cruel smile appeared on her lips. Brother, I brought an army of thousands to wish you a happy new year. Let's see if you can keep your doors shut now. At the back of the procession, the zombie horde, drawn by the scent of living humans, quietly followed. The Grim Reaper was closing the net. No alarms sounded, because Jingyan had already turned off that screeching noise. Instead, a rousing symphony played. Symphony of Fate. The music boomed across the empty snowfield from dozens of high-powered speakers, sending snow showering from the swaying branches. Shaking the snow from the tree branches, Jingyan, dressed in a sharp black tactical coat, stood before bulletproof floor-to-ceiling windows on the second floor, holding a glass of red wine. Like an elegant conductor, he looked down at the long line writhing across the snow in the distance. They finally arrived. He looked at the monitor full of red dots, smiled at the corners of his mouth. The system interface popped up a warning. Detected a large hostile force approaching. Enemy composition. Armored vehicles by 5 heavy machine guns X3. RPGs by 2. Awakened X12, Hanzhao and CHU Shi. Armed thugs, X3000 plus more units following in the rear. Zombie horde by 5,000 plus 3 Tier 2 mutants. They think highly of me. Jingyan took a small sip of red wine. This lineup could conquer the capital of a small nation, but he wasn't nervous at all. He was even a bit excited. He'd been so bored at home he was practically growing mold. Other than leveling up his powers, it was that thrill like dancing on a knife's edge in old movies. That's the real fun of the apocalypse. The roar of armored vehicles overpowered the wind and snow. The convoy stopped 500 meters from the factory. Through a loudspeaker came Director Wang's official-sounding voice. Police inside, listen up. We are the official rescue squad from Refuge Number 7. We are requisitioning your supplies and shelter by law. Disarm immediately. Open the main gate. So long as you cooperate, we can make you a special advisor. Your safety is guaranteed. Special advisor. Jing Yan scoffed into the microphone. You mean special slave? His voice poured out across the scene through the speakers, full of undisguised mockery. Director Wang, right. If I recall last time. Oh no, I remember. I heard your favorite thing is dissecting awakened people for research. So this time, you want to research my space ability? Director Wang's face darkened. He didn't expect the other party to be so stubborn. Refusing the olive branch. You'll get the stick then.
He waved his hand at Jing Yao.
Didn't you say you could break the door? Go shout at them. Let him see what family really means. Jing Yao was pushed out. He stood on top of the armored vehicle with a megaphone. The cold wind almost blew him over, but the hatred in his eyes burned like fire. He screamed, Jin Yan, you're surrounded. Look at all these people. They're all on the verge of starvation. And you're hoarding so many supplies all to yourself. Don't you feel guilty at all? Open the door now. Everyone might still think kindly of you. Otherwise, when we break in, they'll tear you to pieces. Torn to pieces. Jing Yan shook his head.
His finger
Gently rested on a red button on the control panel. Sis, you're still so naive. You think bringing all these people threatens me? No, you just brought me a bunch of obstacles. Director Wang lost his patience. Open fire. An RPG rocket shot out, trailing fire, howling as it slammed toward the factory gate. But just as it was about to hit the door, an invisible barrier lit up. Spatial refraction field. The rocket felt like it hit a mirror. It eerily bounced backwards and shot directly into a nearby truck. A massive fireball exploded into the sky. The truck, loaded with heads, was instantly turned to scrap metal. Severed limbs flew everywhere. Everyone was stunned. What? Counterattack! Fire! Rat-tat-tat-tat. Countless bullets rained down on the wall like a storm. But they only sparked off the surface, barely even scratched the paint. Yan snapped his fingers. My turn. He pressed the button. Defense System Sequence 2. Minefield activated. The snow under the feet of the frontmost rioters was suddenly anything but ordinary. It was packed with hundreds of directional high-explosive mines. Boom! 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 A series of explosions burst forth like firecrackers. The snow turned red in an instant. Hundreds died before they could even scream. They were vaporized instantly. Retreat! Fall back! Terrified, the crowd pushed back. But people in the rear still pushed forward. The whole scene turned into utter chaos. At that moment, something even worse happened. From the snowfield behind them came a deafening roar, drawn by the explosions and the smell of blood. 5,000 zombies arrived. Their fangs finally bared. They weren't slow walkers anymore. The scent of blood had whipped them into a frenzy. They charged the back of the crowd like rabid dogs. Help, zombies. There are zombies behind us. Caught between two enemies. A minefield and an unbreakable fortress in front. An endless tide of zombies in the back. This so-called expeditionary force became the filling in a sandwich. Jing Yao, clear the mines with your power. Hurry up, Director Wang was frantic. He pressed a gun to Jing Yao's head. Jing Yao trembled in terror. He used all his strength to clear the way ahead. The air buzzed. A few mines disappeared, but the minefield was just too big. His bit of mental strength was a drop in the bucket. Not even a minute later, his nose was gushing blood. He collapsed on top of the vehicle. I can't go on. I really can't. Useless. Director Wang kicked him off the vehicle, then jumped into the armored car, trying to escape. But there's no way Jing Yan would let him escape. Since you're here, you might as well leave something behind. Jing Yan stood on the terrace. He raised his right hand, aimed at the armored vehicle turning to flee. Spatial rift. A visible black crack sliced through the air. It made no sound at all. That armored vehicle, weighing over 10 tons, with Director Wang inside, was cut clean in half. The cut was smooth as glass. Its parts and body parts clearly exposed inside. Everything was silent. Rioter or zombie, all seemed stunned by that display of power. Is this the power of a god? Chansu hid among the corpses, staring at the man above, like a god. He wet his pants instantly. The battle raged for 3 straight hours. Or rather, the massacre lasted 3 hours. Except for a few who escaped into the snow early on. The 3,000-strong force was nearly wiped out. Bodies littered the field. The heat of the blood melted the snow, then quickly froze over into thick red ice, turning this place into a massive outdoor morgue. The zombies, full at last, were mowed down by Jingyan with a heavy machine gun, and mostly cleaned out. By then, the wind and snow had stopped. A pale moon hung in the sky, casting light on this hellscape. Only 2 survivors remained in front of the gate, Jing Yao and Chen Su. They were lucky, getting kicked out of the car at the start. Let them avoid the first wave of explosions. Later, they hid under the armored car wreckage and played dead, barely surviving till now. But now there's nowhere to run. Jing Yan was standing right in front of them. The main gate slowly opened. Jing Yan wasn't wearing any protective gear, just a thin black shirt, holding his combat gear in hand. Military boots crunching on the ground, walking step by step toward the 2. Each step he took felt like it landed on their hearts. Big brother, please. Jing Yao knelt on the ground, his face covered in blood. His hands were blue and purple from the cold. He crawled toward Jing Yan like a dog. I'm sorry, I'm really sorry. I was forced. Director Wang made me do it. You know that? I'm the biggest coward. Yeah, they made us do this. Chansu also knelt down, banging his head on the ground. Jing Yan, no. Brother Yan, Lord Yan, for the sake of our past relationship, let me go, just treat me like a fart. I'll do anything you want from now on. Jing Yan stopped 2 meters in front of them. He said nothing, and instead pulled out a table and chairs from his space, right there among the mountain of corpses and pool of blood. In the -60-degree cold, he took out a little red clay stove, lit it, set up the pot, poured in water and seasonings. Soon, the spicy aroma filled the air, masking the smell of blood. He even pulled out a plate of thinly sliced lamb. Lamb slices, carefully cooked in hot pot. Want some? Jing Yan picked up a piece of meat, blew on it to cool it down. Jing Yao and Chen Su swallowed hard, their eyes full of longing, but even more full of fear. This insane pressure was worse than just being killed. Brother, please, just let me have a bite. Jing Yao sobbed and pleaded. This scene feels so familiar. Jing Yan put the meat in his mouth, chewing slowly, his face showing pure enjoyment. In my last life, I begged you both like this, with just that one door between us. I begged you for a sip of water, even a stale biscuit. And what did you tell me? Jing Yao trembled all over, unable to speak. You said supplies are for useful people only. Trash like me doesn't deserve to breathe. Jing Yan put down his chopsticks, his eyes suddenly colder than ice and snow. Now I'm returning those words to you. He stood up, his tactical axe flashing cold in the moonlight. Jing Yan called out, Chansu, hey, I'm here. Chansu thought he had a chance, quickly looked up and answered, You love Jing Yao, willing to die for her, is that right? Jing Yan asked, and Chansu hesitated, glancing at Jing Yao next to him. If you kill her, I'll let you in for hot pot and give you a warm room. Jing Yan's voice was pure temptation. I could even give you an evolution serum, so you could become an Awakened too. A dagger landed at Chun Su's feet. It was the ultimate test of human nature. No. Jing Yao stared at Chun Su in terror, backing away. You wouldn't do that. We're lovers. Chun Su stared at the dagger, then glanced at the warm, brightly lit fortress behind Jin Yan, and looked again at the filthy, worthless woman in front of him, already of no value. In that moment, the mask called love was completely shattered. Sorry, Yao Yao. Chun Su suddenly grabbed the dagger and lunged at Jin Yao with a twisted expression. You heard it too. As long as you die, I can survive. It's not like you have any supplies left anyway. So what's the harm in dying for me once? Jin Yao screamed. His survival instinct pushed him to unleash his last strength. Even though Qing Kong's mental power was exhausted, this strike still hit the dagger in Chun Su's hand and made it disappear into thin air. But Chun Su's body still crashed into Jin Yao, clutching his neck with both hands. Die, just die. Don't get in my way. The two of them tangled in a bloody struggle, like two wild beasts tearing at each other. Jin Yao clawed at Chun Su's eyes with his fingers. Chun Su bit into Jin Yao's face, The ugliness was beyond extreme. Jin Yao watched coldly, as if it were a ridiculous play, until both men were utterly exhausted, collapsed on the ground, gasping for breath. Jin Yao's face was torn apart by the bites. Chan Su was left blind in one eye. Bravo, Jin Yao applauded lightly. But I lied to you. He walked up to the two of them and raised his axe. My safe house never accepts trash. Before their screams of despair faded, the axe fell, and two heads rolled off with a thud. Blood splattered across the pristine snow, like a blooming plum blossom. The grievances of this life were finally put to an end. Jin Yan didn't linger, nor did he spare the corpses a second glance. He turned and waved at the bodies on the ground, at the ruined armored vehicle in the distance, and even the still warm, uncoagulated blood. All of it was absorbed into the system's recycling area, to be used as organic fertilizer later on. The entrance was clean again, as if nothing had ever happened. Back inside the house, the fire in the fireplace was burning brightly. Jin Yan took off his blood-stained coat and threw it into the fire. He walked up to the huge floor-to-ceiling window, watching the blizzard still raging outside. The world was already dead, but he was still alive, and he would live well for a long time. He took a bottle of rare whiskey from the cabinet, poured 2 glasses, spilled one onto the floor, in memory of the foolish self he lost, raised the other toward the sky, to this cruel yet magnificent new world. Hello, Apocalypse. I'm Jin Yan.
The king here.